beautiful human, welcome to another episode of It's So Briella. This week we are going to make a wool kind of like button up traditional coat, and I'm really excited. I've been wanting to make this jacket since before winter started. I live in Las Vegas, so it doesn't really get cold until end of January, February. This week it just started getting really cold, and I'm really excited to make it. So first I'm going to show you my materials that I'm going to work with, then we'll go ahead and get started. I'm not a huge sketch artist. I kind of sketch in my mind, but actually for this coat that I'm going to make now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my trench coat pattern that I made a few weeks ago when I made my reversible trench coat, and I'm going to kind of downsize it. For this coat, I don't want that drapiness so extreme. So anyways, it's making sense in my mind, but I could see how it's not coming through to you. Maybe I'll pop some pictures of my visions on the screen. I'm still getting started with this whole YouTube thing, and I've been watching other sewists and how they kind of share their creativity through this channel. And so I'd like to kind of take my time and develop my own unique way of expressing myself. I would really like to commit to a YouTube series once a week, dropping like around Fridays or Saturdays. Some things I've been really working on in my career, I guess you could say, or in my passion, is slowing down in my creative work, knowing that it's going to be okay if it doesn't all get completed the day I start it. I think sometimes because I work so much out of my imagination, I almost feel like it's this fleeting idea that I have to grab on and make tangible before it passes. It's something I'm working on, so maybe you guys can be with me on that journey and help me through that. Again, I'm Briella. Welcome to my channel. This is our first official horizontal YouTube video of me making something, and I'm really excited to share it with you. What a great way to start. So first I'm going to go ahead and grab my material that I'm going to work with, and I'll go ahead and show you what that is. So we have this beautiful wool blanket. It's really heavy. I really like the color of it. It's like a really neutral color. I think it'll be really warm. When I thrifted this, I like Google translated it and it said it was like pure wool. So that's what I'm going off of. Again, it's really beautiful, and it's like really soft too. So I'm really excited to make it into like a petticoat type of thing. I think that's what they're called, like a petticoat. I think it'll be a really nice like neutral jacket. So this, I feel like, is going to be my new everyday coat that I can wear over many things. So I'm really excited. So let me show you what I'm going to use for the liner, because that's been a little bit of a confusing thing for me, because I want it to keep the neutral effect, and I want it to be, I don't know, I want it to be elegant. So I didn't want to just line it with like a blanket or like a flannel. I want to line it with something like silky or beautiful. So without further ado, I'm going to line it with 3 beautiful scarves, and I'm gonna like patchwork them. So this is gonna be the lining. So this scarf, and this scarf. So these 3 scarves will go on the inside of this jacket, and these are all 100% pashmina or silk. Yeah, this one is like 70% pashmina, 30% silk. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out my fabric on the floor. I haven't entirely figured out how I'm going to do this yet. So I'll take you to the ground, and you can see me kind of piece this stuff together. So yeah, let's do it. So I do not own a sewing table quite yet, nor a space big enough for a sewing table, so this is what I do. This is my process. I'll just lay out my blanket as best I can on the floor. This is my box of patterns. I thrifted this. It came with all of these inside of it. So this is how I store my patterns, and it's quite effective so far. I've been working on transitioning my patterns from paper to cloth. I saw it, I think, on TikTok or Instagram. I haven't quite found a fabric I like yet for my cloth patterns. What I've been doing is just cutting my like random sheets that I have laying around that aren't that were really cheap and aren't going to be of much use to me, and I've just been serging the edges and then ironing them. So I'm going to get out my trench cape pattern. I don't even remember. Oh, this is the sleeve. Oh, a pocket. Look how big those pockets are. And this is a piece. And this is a piece. What I like about, oh, this is the back piece. The cloth patterns is you can iron them really well, and they also like stick to the cloth, so you don't have to worry about them shifting so much while you cut. Okay, so as I said before, my trench was a little bit like the oversized version of what I want this to be. So my trench goes down to the floor basically on me. So, there is this cut right here in my back piece, and I kind of like it. So I'm going to make this my new length. That's going to be my new length. And on this front piece, so I'll line it up with the back piece so you could see, I added a lot of extra material for the front, as well as this like cool, see like the collar, so it's supposed to be like this folded. I am going to take some of this off because I don't want it to have so much excess right here. I'm going to keep this neckline, and I'm going to diagonal it this way and just cut off all this extra fabric. So now I'm just going to lay out all my pattern pieces on this fabric and see kind of how it comes together and puzzle pieces together, and see what trims I can use that are already kind of on the blanket. I want to figure out if there's a way to keep this in the coat as well, like the frill from the scarves. I kind of want it to be hanging down from the back lining. And it would be really cool to be able to use this natural edge of the blanket, and then I kind of want to use this silk for the like middle part of the jacket and the collar. So that is kind of my vision. Let's do it. Alright, I am ironing on the floor. Things like this make my sewing projects go much smoother. I've learned it's a lot about setting yourself up for success by learning the things that will support you and kind of just embracing it instead of fighting against it all the time and being like, no, I should be able to do this without these tools. No, maybe you just need them, and maybe you should just incorporate them into your life. You know what I mean? Just figure out what works for you and like embrace it. Do it. Where are my scissors? I have to mail something. So my first lesson in slowing myself down is I'm not going to be able to finish this right now. I'm going to probably cut out a couple pieces and then have to scoop and skedaddle. To start, I am nervous for this one. I usually don't get too nervous cutting into fabrics, but I've never really worked with wool before. So yeah, I'm feeling a little nervous. So let's just see how it goes. Oh my gosh, it's going to be so warm. And then what I'm going to do here is just flip all of it over. And cut out the other side. Alright, so the back piece has been cut out, so that means I can fold up this pattern piece really nicely. What I'll probably want to do very quickly is serge the edges of this just so it doesn't start like stretching. But I actually love the length, so that's exciting. I'm going to leave this and I'm going to try not to touch it. a lot before I work with it. Just gonna leave it. And then I'm gonna go to the side pieces. What I wanna do is use this edge somehow. This pretty edge. It kind of reminds me of my baby blanket. It's very soft. And I want to use it for this part of the coat. What I might have to do is trace this out on another cloth and cut from there to kind of pattern for this jacket. I'm going to repattern this really quick and I'll be back. I have my cloth pattern cut out again in this shorter version, and I just marked it with that black line to see where it like is supposed to fold over for the drapiness. On my other coat I made like a little cut right here. I'm gonna also mark it. I'm gonna take in some measurements down that side. So you can see I drew a diagonal line on the cloth. I just use fabric marker because I'm going to be using these just simply for patterns, and I'm using my back panel piece to kind of lay it over my front panel pieces to gauge the middle and like the sizing. So I just traced the middle line and I made my new diagonal line, which I'll now cut out. So now I've cut the pattern out and I've laid it on my wool. I'm going to cut it out off camera and I will show you both wool front pieces and back pieces all cut out. Alright, so far I have made a new pattern. I have cut out all my pattern pieces in this wool, and I've serged all the edges to make sure that it doesn't like stretch too much or fray, definitely not fray or come apart. I know wool is kind of just like felted together, so the more you work with it, the more it's going to change shape. So I'm really trying not to mess with it too much, or it's kind of sewn together. So I have all these pieces. I have my two front pieces and my back panel, my back piece in the wool. I think I'm going to call this video part 1 done, and I'm going to brainstorm on how I want to piece together the pashmina scarves and come back with part 2 where we do the pashmina scarves and start piecing it and lining it and sewing it together. So we'll see how many parts we get with this whole process. I'm very excited. So if you watched the whole way through, thank you so much for joining me in part 1 of my creative process. Subscribe to my channel, please, if you found this video useful or interesting or inspiring. My goal is to inspire people to sew on their own, or at least attempt to sew on their own. It's really all in us, that skill and that mindset, you know? So this was fun. So thank you so much for joining me. Oh, that's so cheesy. Do I use that as my sign off? Thank you so much for joining me. My name's Briella. This is my YouTube channel where I show you all of my ideas and my mind and my creativity in my upcycle projects and inspire you hopefully to learn how to sew on your own. And I hope you hit the subscribe to support me and my growing business, and I'll see you next time.